And we're continuing in February, our month of love, with part two of my reaction to a love connection encounter. And the person on the couch on the love connection is Gregory Valens. Check out his channel on YouTube, and you can do that at Valens Love, Luv. And it's this very interesting second episode, very different than the first one. To recap what we did last time, Greg was on the couch, and there were three ladies he could choose from, 1, 2, and 3. He chose 1, had an awful time at the date. The audience actually voted against her and for number 2, and that's Naomi. And so Greg gets a chance to go out with Naomi, all paid for by the show. And he says, yeah, he'll give it a go. So this is what we're left with. I'm going to be giving you some of my psychological impressions, red flags, and do's and don'ts for dating. And we're going to use the love connection as an example. And this is a male, Gregory Valens, or Greggy, as I fondly call him, is on the couch. Let's take a watch and see what happens, what craziness can ensue here. Check it out.
And our next guest is back to tell us about his second date on Love Connection. He says that he's looking for a woman to whip him into shape. He claims that yoga has changed his love life, and he believes that astrology helps him prepare for a date. Please welcome back to the show, Mr. Greg Sissel. Hey, buddy. How are you? Have a seat. Nice to see you again. All right. You look good. You look good. Yeah, I got my hair. I got a little haircut. You changed your look a little bit.
You know, I was kind of wondering if you were going to come out with the same
outfit on that you have.
Right.
Yeah, not a hope in hell. Really. I was trying to learn astrology helps you prepare for a date. What's that all about?
Well, to me, this may not be for everybody else, but to me, knowing a person's astrological sign before you go out with them sort of gives you an idea of what kind of vibe you may be in for. It can kind of prepare you in a way.
Right.
It can.
Right.
Sometimes it can be completely off. Or sometimes, it can just kind of set that tone. For instance, let's say if the woman's a Scorpio. Scorpios rule the house of sex.
Yeah, Scorpio.
And they also, if it's let's say, Taurus.
Taurus, the bull.
The bull. You're in for a lot of intellectual, a lot of debate. You're going to find yourself debating a lot.
Right.
It can be a lot of fun.
Right.
It can be a lot of fun.
Right. That's cool.
Let's say it's
He sounds totally interested.
Let's say it's
No, you guys don't know, man. You sit there like you know. You don't know.
Gotta love him.
I got one last one. Let's say it's a Sagittarius.
Sagittarius, of course.
The most philosophical of all the signs. I stole that from Jim Morrison.
Right.
The way he says it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Jim
you're
Morrison.
in for a lot of spirituality, a lot of that sort of connection, and a lot of talk on that end of things.
Right. The first time that he was on, Greg chose Leah. And what was the problem on your date with Leah?
Pat, we were completely incompatible.
Right.
Completely. She's more of a 90s woman, and I'm more of a 70s kind of guy.
I did not notice.
Well, the audience on the day that you were here last time voted for a different woman. Right? So they went out on a date. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll meet that woman, find out all about Greg's date and everything that happened that night. Come on back.
All right, time for some psychological insights on Greggy. He seems quite talkative this time, and he's talking about astrology. So that's new. And his fur coat is pretty cool. One might say groovy. And he does seem to want to talk about just how much he knows, which kind of goes into my little impression that he might be conceited or cocky, but he does seem like a pretty nice, amiable fellow. Psychological insights, no red flags. He is maybe really into himself or on some drugs. I don't know. Anyway, he seems to be having some fun. So got to give him credit for that. All right. So, do's and don'ts. I think he may have had a little bit of line crossing over too much information, a little TMI about himself and about the House of Sex and about the House of whatever and the House of Horrors. And also, he did stereotype his first date into a 90s woman. So I probably wouldn't do that either. Those are both big don'ts. So now let's go see how Greggy did on his date with Naomi.
All right, we're back. We were talking to Greg before the break. And Greg, why don't you remind us who the audience chose for you?
Naomi.
Naomi. And Naomi's backstage, of course. So let's say hello to Naomi Clement. Hi, Naomi.
Hi. Hi, Greg.
Hello.
How are you?
Tell us about your date, Greg.
Well, I spoke with her on the phone, and it was to my understanding that she was a Scorpio.
Right.
And I am a Gemini, and usually those types of relationships can be very, very powerful.
Right.
Very extremely powerful on the emotional end and on the sexual end. And sometimes if that power isn't harnessed correctly, it can lead to, it can be very volatile.
Oh, all right.
It can explode into.
So you don't know whether it's going to be great or bad.
I was a little nervous.
And Naomi, are you into astrology too?
Yes, I am. I've actually been studying it for a long time, and I was a little afraid when I found out that he was a Gemini. I had a boyfriend in the past who had been a Gemini, and they're either total dolls or totally evil. I mean, they're like two separate personalities, and I was a little bit scared. I thought I might, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Aw, Greggy.
This wasn't in a past life or anything. This was.
No, this was about 2 years ago.
All right. I am in the strangest time warp right now.
Yeah. It doesn't feel good, though.
It does feel good,
Yeah.
man, because it's like the good and then the yeah. And then
We're
you
expanding your mind.
That's what I mean. So what happened next?
So I stopped by the art store before I went to pick her up, and I just bought her a bottle of red paint. Red is the color of passion.
Also the color of Satan.
Okay, let's stop it here while we have this host with the wonderful look on his face. He's trying to dig it, but I don't know if he's really digging it. All right, so psychological insights. Boy, you could see the electricity just pumping between the two of them when they were on the screen together. Hi, Greg. Hi. And how he got kind of shy looking and everything. And the Scorpio Gemini combination, they're both into astrology. One thing I would have to say as far as a do or a don't, because there's no red flags that I see so far, but a don't would be, don't assume based on somebody's astrological sign what they're going to be like. Just sort of try and keep an open mind. So there's a do. And so just don't assume anything. And please do have humor, creativity, and open-mindedness when you're going out on your dates. I think that really goes a long way. Oh, and what he said about it could be an explosive combination for a Scorpio and Gemini to get together. I thought that was extremely interesting. Let's see what happens next.
You brought her the red paint
And a paintbrush.
and a paintbrush. Right.
Right.
Oh, that's cool. Now, what did you think of Greg's little project that he brought in here?
Well, actually, I was pretty blown away because about a week and a half earlier, I had this revelation. This is pretty strange, but if you come into my house, my whole walls are total murals. You cannot find any white space left, okay?
Wow.
I'm no lie, this is totally true. I have just like all this tripped out artwork all over my walls. When I got into his car and he handed me this little bag from an art store, I said, what is this? I opened it. It's a paintbrush and it's red paint. Now, this is the shocking thing. A week earlier, I'm a songwriter and a poetess and all that good stuff.
Right.
I was sitting in my house and I had this revelation. There was something super important that I needed to paint on my walls in red paint.
Wow.
But all
I am digging this. So what happened next?
So then we decide to go. I asked her, I said, do you think we should stay in Hollywood or should we go to my area of the woods in Venice? And I was like, just first thing that pops to your mind, what do you think? She goes, let's go to your neighborhood. And so I'm like, okay. So we decide to go.
All right, I'm going to stop it here. I want to say something about the red paint because there are these times where you have this psychic connection with somebody and you share the energy. And I completely buy into that whole, he had an intuition about the red paint and she actually was thinking about the red paint. I am believing it's true. I'm choosing to believe it's true. When you have those kind of things happen in your relationship, that is a green light, not a red flag, a green light. So again, psychological thoughts and insights that I have about these two is that they could go on for hours and hours talking. You could just tell that they're talkers and they're deep talkers and they're woo woo people. And so I think if I wanted to put a do is having creativity and intuition, using your intuition is really super key. If you feel like, wow, I kind of want to bring a gift to somebody and I think it's this. It might sound a little wild, but I'm going with my intuition. Who knows? It may be great. And if it's not, then that's probably not the person for you. Anyway, let's continue on Greggy's date with Naomi.
Go to this Italian restaurant that I know of. It's very unique. It's very unique, and you stop and you pick out your own bottle of wine and you take it into the restaurant. Anyway, on the ride over there, I'm driving and I'm like, the conversation's getting really good, and I'm like driving and like looking in her eyes and just getting lost. and I don't know. It was becoming like kind of cosmic, And I looked up, and I was lost geographically.
We were almost at the airport. We were like near Inglewood. We were way far away from Venice. But neither of us really cared.
So you really got lost in that Volkswagen bus, I'm assuming.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So I would have to say, still, psychological insights are the same. They really seem to have really good chemistry. No red flags, just green lights. And if I were to say a do or a don't, I would say do get lost in somebody's eyes, but don't do it while you're driving, right? Because you could actually get lost or you could actually get into an accident. So those are a couple of helpful hints. Want to keep everybody alive and safe. So let's go ahead and see where this date ends up, shall we?
What happened next?
All right, so we get to the restaurant. Now, this is the point at where it started to get really deep. I mean, like, deep. I mean, I knew that we were meant to be together, that we were just meant to meet. I just knew it. It just felt so right. And we started reading each other's minds. Like, before I would say something, she would be like, and she'd nail it. And I was getting kind of like freaked out by it. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And then at one point, like, she asked me about a certain wine or something. And she was like, do you know about that wine? And I said, yeah. She goes, you can't lie to me. Don't lie to me. I can tell when you're lying to me. She goes, I can just feel it.
He was so full of it. I speak Italian, and I know all about different wines. My dad was a gourmet chef, so I know this kind of stuff. As soon as he said Italian restaurant, I started talking Italian. I started telling him about wines and food, and he got totally insecure. I said, oh, do you know about this wine we picked out? And he's all, oh, yeah. And I said, Greg, you're so full of it. Don't lie to me. If you don't know, it's okay. I can teach you something new.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I can teach you something new coming right from Naomi. Yeah, so psychological insights. Greggy does tend to be a little insecure. See, I think I pegged him. Yeah, he acts cocky on the outside and he's insecure. Doesn't mean he's a narcissist or anything like that. It's just that he knows how to cope with his insecurities by using some bravado. That's about what I can see. And I think he does it in an adorable way. I absolutely adore Greggy, and this couple is so cute together. And the mind reading involved. Yeah, let's just do that and complete each other's sentences. And then the way that she calls him out on his lack of knowledge of wine. I just love this couple. I would just say, a big do would be just don't care about knowing something. If you don't know, just say it. So don't bring up something that you don't know about and say you know about it and then not know about it, because then the other person knows you don't know. You know what I mean? Okay, so let's get on with this date. It sounds pretty juicy so far, and it's getting kind of deep. Let's go.
So she wasn't so much reading your mind as catching you in a lie, probably.
It was both.
Whatever,
A little bit of both.
whatever you want to think, Pat.
All right. So what happened next?
Okay, so from there, we jump in my car and we just kind of like driving around the area, you know, and just like I'm not even know where I'm going, and I want to play her a tape of my original music so bad because I already know she's a good singer. I heard her sing in the restaurant, and like I'm really nervous about playing her my material because I thought, well, oh my God, what if she doesn't like it? Then it'll just make me feel like really
What you
bad.
did, right? You pop it in the tape player.
Pop it in, and and
Pop it in. Come on now. Come on, Greggy. Pop it in.
What? I don't get it.
He doesn't get it.
Now, what did you think of Greg's music, Naomi?
Well, let me tell you this. I could tell that he was really nervous. I mean, we're both rock and rollers. We're both singers. We're both songwriters. And I've been at it, I think, a little bit longer than he has. And he kept going on and on how he's so embarrassed and his voice wasn't that great and this and that something. And okay, this guy looks like a rock and roll star waiting to happen. But can he walk the walk and not just talk the talk? When he played it, I was blown out of the water. This guy has some super talent. And I know what I'm talking about.
Wow.
This guy... He sounded like a white prince. He had so much soul. He was unbelievable.
Really?
Unbelievable.
Cool. So she hears your music, she likes your music, and then what?
okay, so then she suggested that we go back to my place.
Oh, all right. Now, if things are going well, I assume. Why did you suggest his place, Naomi?
Well, the reason I suggested his place was that he was trying to act like he was cool and he was fine and everything was great, but I could tell he was a little bit under the weather. I'm a massage therapist and I do natural healing. And I could tell that he wasn't feeling real good. And I suggested that we go back to his house so he could get some warm clothes on and sit and relax. Because he wanted to take me out dancing. And I didn't want him to have to try to impress me. I wanted him to get better.
Tell me how the date ended.
Do you want straight to the end?
Yeah, let's cut to the end.
All right. Okay, we got to pause again. I do want to bring up something here. So psychological insights that I have is that Greggy does seem very, very vulnerable, a vulnerable person. That joke about popping it in went way over Naomi's head. But boy, both of the guys got it. So again, that's psychological insights and everything. Just the fact that she wanted to hear, or he wanted to put on his music for her, shows some vulnerability on his part, but it could also be ego as well. I'm not sure, but she liked it. So I would say, if you wanted to go with some do's and don'ts, bring out the positive. Do bring out the positive traits in one another when you're on a date, for sure. That doesn't really hurt. And then also encourage and support a person toward their goals. You know, even if he sucked, maybe she could have offered him some sort of positive thing that she had noticed about his music or about his voice. But being able to do those things, even on a first date, I think really is helpful. It's just helpful in general to bring out the positive traits, because we want to share our talents, strengths, and gifts with everybody. And it looks like Greggy's going to share some of his talents with Naomi, or Naomi's actually going to be sharing her talents with him as a massage therapist. So let's see what happens next.
I drive her home. I want to be a gentleman and walk her to her door, but she won't let me because by this time I've put on warm clothes. Back at my place, she had a towel over my head, sucking in eucalyptus fumes.
Right.
You know, like massaging my chest with eucalyptus oil. I mean, totally trying to heal me.
Right.
And so she doesn't want me to get out of the car because then I will get cold again. And it's not good for the bronchitis.
Yeah.
So she's like, just stay in the car. So at this point, she gives me a very long hug. And I kissed her on the neck and we said goodbye.
All right. You know what, Greg? Because the audience chose Naomi for you, you have the opportunity to go out with her again. Would you like to?
I'd love to.
I thought you might. Come on out, Naomi. Say hi to Greg.
Love those pants. Oh my good gracious. Oh, wow. Okay, massaging the eucalyptus on the chest, never a bad thing. I would say that's a do. And also, just pay attention to somebody else's energy. If they're feeling sick, this is another do. Please be empathic toward them and cut the date short. He kissed her on the neck. So that may mean that he was actually very considerate, not wanting to spread germs into her bodily crevice of her mouth or whatever. I'm not sure what that meant. Or it might be that he's part vampire. Not really sure, but boy, look at this chemistry. It just goes on and on. You got to go with the energy. You got to go with your heart. Those are big do's. I don't see a whole lot of don'ts, except for I'm looking at Pat over there. He's like, get to the damn story. He's a little impatient. And it looks like he's almost clenching up his fists there, like he wants it to end because this half-hour show is going to be in jeopardy, right? So let's see how this ends up. I'm so glad they're going on another date, and they don't actually show the second date of them. But I will tell you this, if you go on to Greg Valens's channel, which I'll put it up here again, there is a comment underneath one of the videos. I think it's pinned to, I think, the second video that says that he and Naomi were a thing for very many years. And they ended up breaking up, but they were a thing after this show for very many years. So check that out if you want to. And we'll go back and we'll wrap this up.
Have a seat. Have a seat. Thanks for being with us. I'm glad things worked out. That's our show for today. Join us next time with more couples trying to make a love connection. I'm Pat Bullard. We'll see you then.
Oh my goodness gracious. All right. Well, so what can we take away from the two views of the love connection other than what makes a good date, what makes a not so great date, and open-mindedness, flexibility, being supportive toward people's goals, being polite, being, did I say open-minded? Yeah. Do's and don'ts. I'll go ahead and put those in the notes. I will get around to that someday. And then just listening to your heart and your intuition. So thank you for indulging me in one of my favorite love connections and allowing me to do some commentary. Take care, everybody. And thanks for joining me on Calming the Chaos today.
Thanks for listening to Calming the Chaos podcast. If you found this podcast interesting or helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. You can also go to www.calmingthechaospodcast.com to listen to all Calming the Chaos podcast episodes. I look forward to sharing my next podcast episode with you. In the meantime, take care.
Howl at the moon or something like that.